Hey guys, Stuart Trier here from Marketing Cheat Guides. Today I have on the show Nathan Gotch. He's the founder of GotchSEO.com, and he was kind enough to take some time today to talk to us about what he's doing. So Nathan, thanks for joining us here on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your backstory?
Sure, yeah. So I'm the founder of Gotch SEO, which is an SEO training and a SEO service business. So I offer full service SEO. My team and I offer full service to small and medium sized businesses where we handle their entire SEO. And then the SEO training division is Gotch SEO Academy, which is now over 1,000 students. And so that's just an SEO training course. And also, as I was mentioning to Stuart, it's also a part coaching as well to help them through that process of getting SEO results. So those are the two things. And I also have an SEO blog that a good amount of people read. I share some pretty advanced stuff there. But I don't do it often, but when I do share something, it's pretty advanced and helpful and actionable. So
awesome. So how did you get into SEO? When did this journey begin?
Yeah, I actually got into SEO around 2011 when I was still a senior in college. And I started out like a lot of people. I just started Googling things about how to make money online, like many people do. And I actually ended up doing a bunch of stuff before I even did SEO. I did paid surveys. I was very unethically writing essays for other college students. And then tried selling my college books. Like I was doing literally everything I could to like figure out ways to make money online. And all of those ways, just believe me, you don't need to go that path because they're all horrible and you will never make a lot of money doing those things. So I learned that pretty quickly. I spent a few months doing that and realized, yeah, this isn't really going to scale too well for the rest of my life here. So then eventually I stumbled upon a course called Web Colleagues, and I don't know if it's still around, but it was $47 to get access to the entire course. So it was very, very affordable. But at the time I was extremely broke. So I was like, man, should I spend $47 on this training? So I ended up doing it. And they taught a lot of spammy methods, but one thing in there that really stood out to me was they recommended that you start a blog. And so that was like, I was like, a blog, okay. And I was actually a decent writer because I was majoring in political science. So I had been writing a lot. So I was like, I could definitely write some stuff. So then I just figured, what's the one thing I know about? And at that time I was a baseball pitcher. So I was like, I'm going to start a baseball pitching blog. So that ended up being like the breeding ground for everything. And I spent like months and months and months trying to figure out how to get traffic, no traffic at all. And then eventually I started doing more research and stumbled upon SEO. And then I was like, what is this? And then I started just going crazy on that website, just trying everything I was learning. And then I started getting traffic and started ranking. And man, that was the game changer for me. And then if there's anyone watching this who already knows who I am, they've probably heard this before, but I would literally just start websites just to test my SEO skills. So like I started like a TRX reviews website. I started a Bowflex reviews website. Like I was just starting all these different websites that were like closely linked to what I knew. Except I actually started an Undercounter Ice Maker reviews website too, which I had no idea what that was about. But anyway, I just started creating these sites because I literally just wanted to get better at SEO. And that's what happened. I ended up ranking all of these sites and driving traffic to them and making money through affiliate marketing. And then I actually ended up selling my first blog to a former MLB player. So that was kind of a cool thing that happened. But all of that eventually led me to offering SEO services to small businesses. And I did that for a long time, for 2 or 3 years straight, just purely client SEO. And then I was like, well, I can probably teach this to people too. So then that's when I started creating my training. And my training has gone through probably 6 or 7 iterations at this point. When I first launched it, it was just a text-based course. And then I slowly transitioned into video, and then the videos have been progressively getting better, the structure, everything, every time we try to make it better. So it's kind of where I'm at now.
Awesome. And so when you first got into client SEO, one of the challenges, as I'm sure you know, a lot of people face is how to get those first clients. So how did you navigate through that?
Yeah. See, it's challenging because when I got my first clients, those methods probably will not work now.
Okay.
So when I first got them, I literally would wake up every single day and I set a target of sending like 15 Craigslist responses. So every single morning, I would look through the gig section on Craigslist and I would just respond to every single one. And I actually got my first couple clients through Craigslist, and then I got a few through Quora just by answering SEO questions. But then really my biggest source of leads after those two things was actually just ranking in Google. So I actually started ranking for, St. Louis SEO company and Santa Monica SEO company. I was just ranking for those geo-targeted type of search queries. And that's where really all my leads started coming from. And then I just stopped all my outbound efforts and all of my leads were coming inbound. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to really spend time doing outbound if I'm getting, inbound leads. So, and I've kind of always made it a point to kind of practice what I preach. So if I'm selling SEO services, I should be growing my own company through SEO. And so I've kind of always had that philosophy, and that's the way it is. Now it's a lot different. Like, people know who I am in the SEO space. So, people just kind of come naturally, either word of mouth, in other inbound methods outside of just organic search. So it's a lot easier for me to get clients. It's also a lot easier for me to close clients than it was back then. So different time for sure. But if there's any takeaway from that, building up your personal brand and establishing yourself as an authority in your industry, it really pays huge dividends in the long run. So.
Awesome. So again, one of the other questions that very often people are wondering is, when you first start a business, there's inevitably challenges that flow from that. What were some of the earliest challenges in terms of starting a business? I know you've obviously overcome a lot as every business goes through gyrations. So what were some of those challenges and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. I would say just the feeling of pure chaos is really the thing that is the most challenging. Like, I was fortunate to get a lot of clients pretty quickly. So like, we were talking about getting to that $8,333 mark per month, which is like, that was my goal back then. I wanted to get to that point. And I got there in about 5 to 6 months of starting, actually surpassed that very quickly. But I did not come from a wealthy background. So to have that much money and like trying to figure out what to do with it and the responsibilities that come with all that was a lot of stress to think about. Cause I was like, I am getting paid, but I need to actually get results or I'm not going to keep getting paid. So thinking about how to do that, and also, how to manage my time so I didn't work 20 hours a day. That was the biggest challenge, really. And so early on, I realized that I can't do everything. So I immediately started looking for people to help me. So that was, independent contractors in India or Philippines. And back then, it was kind of a scattered approach, just kind of having to help me with, tasks all over the place without any real structure. And I would say that was the hardest part, is just like figuring out how to manage everything, so that I would have some sort of a life there for a while. And it was hard. Like I'd say my first like 1 to 2 years was just crazy work all the time. Like probably 16-hour days every day, nonstop. And I'm not saying that's what you should do. That's extremely ineffective. That's not a recommendation. That's actually the worst thing to do, knowing what I know now. But yeah, that's what's challenging in the beginning, is you just like, there's so much that you can do that it's very difficult to know what to do. And that's the biggest challenge. But I feel like, as you get more experience and you've been doing it for a long time, you start to realize like, okay, yes, I could go and do that, but is that actually gonna, help me achieve the goal that I'm going for? And it's small things. Like even today, we're even in a point where I'm more systemized, I have a lot more help. I still find myself sometimes doing a task and I'll be like right in the middle of it. Wait a second, I shouldn't be doing this. I really shouldn't be doing this. And then I'll start to systemize it and hand that off to someone else. So it's a never ending process that you have to go through. But there is kind of a compound effect over time. You start to add those processes in place, you start to build out those systems, you start to get the help that you need. And life gets a little bit easier. So
there we go. The positive momentum. So now that you're working with SEOs, who people that are coming into the academy, I imagine they are at different points in their journey. So are you getting a lot of people who are just starting out and trying to get to that 8,300, or is it more people that are kind of hitting the point of threshold where they have enough clients and now they're running out of time and they're looking for help in terms of systematization and being able to scale?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that most people that join already have some established revenue sources coming in. So whether that's through affiliate marketing or selling leads, or even just doing full service SEO, they have some sort of established thing, or they just have a traditional business and they're trying to grow it through SEO. I don't have a whole lot of beginners coming in that like don't have any traffic or like any revenue source at all. I think I kind of have positioned it so it's a little more, past that point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, most people are coming in because they don't have a reliable way to drive SEO results. And so my unique selling proposition is that if they follow the process, they'll have a reliable way to drive results, whether that's for their own business or for clients. And honestly, a lot of people who join my course do have SEO clients. And so they're trying to figure out how to systemize that process, how to drive results consistently, because really their livelihood depends on it. And so I actually knew, as I just explained, I knew how that felt. So I wanted to give them that thing that I wish I had, back then. So that's part of it.
Awesome. So in terms of like the challenges that you see your students having and how they overcome them, maybe you can share like one or two common challenges that people are having, and then some tips or tricks in terms of how you help them break through so people can really envision the type of value they're going to get if they decide to hop in.
Yeah. So the training itself is more focused on the SEO side of things. So like driving the SEO results. It's not so much on like the operational side of the business. We are adding some pieces of that can help, like what is the sales process that you go through from the point of lead to sending the proposal, like having that all mapped out for them. And that's not so simple. There's a lot of nuance in there that you have to understand. But it's small stuff. Like I'll take that example. Sometimes I'll leave like every week, maybe I'll write something that like I'm working through right now, something that I'm dealing with. And it's like developing proposals is not a simple process. It's not just like you get a lead, you send a proposal their way and you get the client. You need to have very specific steps in there to be able to actually close them. So like, for example, very small nuance, you don't send the proposal until you get a phone call scheduled. And one thing I was explaining to the members is that if a client's not willing or a prospect's not willing to get on the phone, that's a red flag. Because at least in my experience, every time I didn't talk to someone over the phone, the relationship isn't as strong. And I don't know why that is. There's no way to really quantify why that happens, but I think it's just because you don't have that personal relationship with them, and therefore that kind of puts you on a shaky foundation right out of the gate. And you don't really know someone through email. You don't know who they are. You don't know. Email can always be taken out of context. They could seem really nice through email, but you get them on the phone and realize like, ooh, I don't know about this guy, and you really can't read a situation until you talk to someone. And so that was one nuance that I was explaining, that like you need to get them on the phone. If they don't want to get on the phone, then you should rethink doing that. And even then, you don't even develop a proposal until you've qualified them. So there's just a lot of steps that go into an effective, just a general sales process like that, let alone just figuring out how to do SEO, which is a process within itself. But that's just one small thing. Obviously I have like a million things I could tell you, but that's just kind of an idea of like working through those nuances so that you're more effective.
And so one of the things that I find talking to SEOs is there's always like the new tactics, the new tricks, the things that people are talking about. But building on something you said earlier, there's the highest and best use of your time. And so is that something that the course would cover in terms of breaking down where should you be focusing your attention? These are the things that are going to move the needle, so to speak. These are things that are, more nuanced and maybe you're going to need to do if you're in a hyper competitive space, but not necessarily where you would focus your time to start.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. In fact, that's like my entire philosophy. I am all about purely focusing on things that are going to have high impact. So just like in anything else, there are a million things you can do in an SEO campaign. But the problem is that not everything is created equally. So for example, you could go out and rewrite all your meta descriptions and spend all your time doing that. That's extremely time consuming, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to do. But when we're gauging things, it's a very low value activity because first of all, Google will probably rewrite your meta descriptions in the first place, which happens pretty frequently. And second of all, just changing your meta description isn't going to drive results. If that was all it took, man, I wouldn't get paid at all. So if that's all it took to drive results, I actually have a process for categorizing actions within an SEO campaign. So a level 1 action is something that's going to drive huge results. So that would be something like creating a new content asset around a qualified keyword. That would be a high impact action. Going out and acquiring links on relevant websites, that's a high impact action. And then I just go through 1 through 3. So 2 is like a medium, and then 3 is like, yes, you can do it, but it needs to be down on the priority list. So I teach my students and anyone who follows me that you need to focus on the high impact stuff. That makes everything else easier. It's the lead domino. And then once you've focused on that stuff, then you can go through and handle the more foundational elements that aren't really going to drive results, but you do need to kind of tackle them. Just to have a strong foundation. So
awesome. And so now in terms of your business, so you said you had over 1,000 or just about 1,000 students come through this course. So how do you currently market? I know you're using organic search for SEO terms, so geo-targeted SEO agency type stuff. How are you going about finding these students? Because you have a number of avatars, as it sounds. You have some SEO agencies, you have some business owners. What is your primary avenue for driving your own traffic?
Yeah. So once again, organic search traffic. So organic search traffic for my website is really different. So like when I'm targeting geo-targeted terms like, city SEO company, that is specifically for people who want SEO services. So most people going through those are not going to get into my training. The ones that go into my training are more informational keywords. So it's going to be like, if you look up backlinks, you'll find a blog post I've written about backlinks. Those are what usually lead to getting new students because they're already in that research process. They're trying to figure out SEO. That's the intent that they're showing. So they're much more likely to join my training. But outside of just organic search, my other 2 biggest channels, YouTube is a big channel for me. That drives a lot of new students, and then also email. So I typically send out an email every week or every 2 weeks. And sometimes that's promoting an asset that's indirectly promoting the academy, or it's directly promoting the academy. So like I'll, do some sort of results in advance type of thing. So I'll give them some sort of case study that I've been working through. And then at the end, I'll be like, hey, if you want to learn this process that I just showed you, join the academy. Very, very simple. I'm not pushing it super hard. But yeah, those 3 channels have been so good that I haven't really invested heavily in paid media. I have done some Facebook retargeting in the past, but since we changed the pricing model, an organic strategy is a little bit better as far as profitability. So yeah, that's basically it.
Nice. So I like to ask people if you could travel back in time, what are 3 lessons you've learned, let's say over the last 5 years that you wish you would have known 5 years ago or 7 years ago when you started? I mean, you've been in this for a long time and obviously some things have changed in terms of organic search, but just business or life lessons that you wish you would have known a little bit earlier in your journey.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the one thing that stands out the most is building out systems. If I could pick just like one thing that I wish I did better back then, it's not even that I really didn't know that back then. It's just that I didn't execute on the idea because it was just too overwhelming. I was like, yeah, I'll do that at some point. But I need to get these results right now. So that's kind of, you get in that like, what's happening today mode. But in reality, spending your time building systems today will save you literally hundreds of hours in a month from now. So it's the amount that it pays off just by spending that time. And in fact, I'm extreme. I'm willing to let a project maybe decline a little bit while I build out a system because I know that in the long term, I'll make up for it. So yeah, that's my biggest thing. And just mapping out every single thing that you do so that eventually, the one thing I try to think about, and these are not my ideas, these are just from learning and reading about books about systems, is that I'm basically trying to replace myself. So if I can get to that point where I can replace myself, I actually have a real business, not just a business that's dependent on me. And that's particularly important for me because I have kind of a personal branded type of business. So I'm slowly working my way to get away from that because I know in the long term, the business can't just rely on me. So yeah, if I could go back, I would have started building systems 5 years ago. I'd probably be in a different place than I am now. But that's just the way it is. So.
Awesome. So in terms of systems, do you have any productivity kind of rituals or habits that you follow in order to be operating at a high level? Any routines that you like, or any either apps, hacks, anything like that you use regularly?
Yeah. As far as productivity, I always put my most challenging task first in the morning. So, and typically that's going to be either some sort of writing, creating a system, something that requires a lot of like mind focus and power. Because I know when the day goes on, now that I have a baby and I'm married, things just get more difficult as the day goes on. I've noticed. So I really need that like early morning time to focus on that. So if I can get that like high impact thing that I think can really move the needle in the business, that's like my day is good if I've done that one thing. And then outside of that, I use a project management software, Asana. So all of my team members are on there. All of the processes are on there. And then just using Google Drive. So I have all my systems checklists and everything in there. And then as far as like how I plan my day, it's just looking at my calendar. And then I actually do one thing that's kind of interesting. I always use a Post-it note to plan my tasks because I know if it doesn't fit on a Post-it note, I'm probably trying to do too much in the day. So that's typically what I'll do. And it's, I just try to keep it simple because whenever you start to include a bunch of different softwares and a bunch of different channels for to-do lists, it gets very messy. So that's one thing that I try to do.
Okay. And in terms of tools, do you find yourself using any particular tools during the day? Something that maybe not a lot of people have heard about that you found particularly valuable?
Yeah, well, naturally, SEO tools for me. So that's going to be Ahrefs, which is a backlink analysis tool. They also have some organic search data. That tool can pretty much do everything that you would need in an SEO campaign outside of technical SEO. And that's when I use Screaming Frog SEO Spider. And what that does is it just crawls a website and then gives you all of the technical checkpoints about that site. And it's kind of cool because you can integrate Google Analytics and Ahrefs into Screaming Frog, so then you can actually see the traffic and the existing backlinks for each individual page on the site. So I'll often use that for content audits. So we'll crawl an entire site and then we'll see what content here, doesn't have traffic, doesn't have links, doesn't have sales. And then we go through and prune that content or redirect it or consolidate it, something like that. But that tool alone can really give you just massive amounts of intel about your website. So, and it's a little scary when you first launch. You're like, oh my gosh, because it looks old school. It has a old school interface. It's not like super new looking, which I kind of like. But once you understand it, it's really, really powerful. So I would say out of most tools I use, it's probably those two. And then outside of that, it's just Google Drive. I live in Google Drive at all times. So
nice. In terms of reading, what are some things you read to stay abreast, continue to sharpen the saw, so to speak? I see your background has a ton of reading, looks like material. So what are some of your favorite things to go to, either books that you really liked or blogs or anything else that you kind of follow?
Yeah. So I kind of don't follow many blogs anymore. I used to, but I always felt it was kind of not very productive for me. But I do read a ton. And I have kind of like some weird reading habits that I go through. Like, for example, I'll read a book, and then I'll actually go back through and transcribe all the notes and put them into a Google Doc, just so I have reference. So I don't have to reread the book every time I need to get points out of there. And it also kind of forces you to reinforce that information in your head. So that's one kind of a weird habit that I go through. And actually, once I've transcribed the notes, I'll typically give the book away. Because I just feel like if it's just sitting on the shelf, there's really no reason for it to just be sitting there if I already have the action items out of it. So I actually have behind me, this section over here are books that like I'm not going to give away. They're that good that I would never give them away. So I want to try to keep that as small as possible. And I would say out of all the books, I've read a lot of good books, but the few that really stand out, Cashvertising is one of my favorites by far. I'm always referencing that book. So if you're trying to figure out, marketing psychology, persuasion, really just trying to get people to take action in general, that book, it just goes through every single thing that you would need to know about persuasion, which is obviously very important for any business. But yeah, that's the one I'm always referencing. And the other two that have really been game changing, Built to Sell, which is about systemizing your business. And then also the E-Myth, which is also about systemizing your business. So those three have been pretty game changing, honestly. And then there's some more foundational ones when I was a beginner, like Millionaire Fastlane. That one was good just for, to get my mindset in the right place about, that there's a lot of abundance out there, and to eliminate that whole mindset. And then obviously 4-Hour Workweek was one too that a lot of people will bring up. But it is still, to this day, it's still just an amazing book for someone who's starting out. So
awesome. If people want to go deeper, where is the best place to send them if they want to interact with you or get in contact and learn more about your training program?
Yeah, you could just go right to gotchseo.com. And then I actually have a little tab called Work Together. So, two options there, basically doing full service SEO or going into the academy. And then, I'm on Twitter at Nathan Gotch, and then YouTube, Nathan Gotch as well. So those are really the main places.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today. Guys still watching, hit that thumbs up button for us. If you have any questions, drop them below the video. Happy to engage with you here on the channel. And Nathan, again, super grateful that you were able to take the time and share your story with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.